Hey bag maker, today I'm going to be talking about how to attach zipper pulls to zipper tape using a dish towel holder, various fabrics that I've added to my stash. The book review will be for a book called 100 Paper Piece Quilt Blocks. I'll be demonstrating how to cover the ends of cotton strapping, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, happy Sunday and welcome to Social Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching the live show or watching the recording later on in the week. I see Paula's watching from Massachusetts, Deb is watching from Maryland, and Mary Grace is watching from Colorado. So welcome everyone. Before I get started, just a friendly reminder, just about everything that I talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the books, fabrics, notions, or projects that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So jumping off to my favorite portion of the show, the notion of the week. A few days ago, I received an email from Rolanda, and she was telling me about these really cool dish towel holders that can also double as a sewing tool to attach zipper pulls to zipper tapes. So they actually work, very inexpensive, and this particular package that I bought came with 4 in a pack, so you have 1 to keep for yourself and 3 to share with other sewing friends. So Danny's going to switch over to the overhead camera, and I'm going to show you what they look like. So here's the packet that I got. It comes with 4 of these, and on the back is a double-sided sticky pad over here. So they're a little bit lightweight. I suppose they're okay to use on their own, but I had maybe if you have like an extra piece of tile, I used a little coaster. Thank you, Violet. I kind of blinked out over there. So I actually stuck mine to this coaster, and it's a little bit weighted, so I thought it would work better stuck to something with a little bit of weight to it. And I pulled various zipper pulls, number 5 pulls, and also a number 3 pull, just so that I could demonstrate how easy they are to get on. So first off, I'm going to turn the zipper pull so that it's with the bottom side face up, and then I'm just going to slide it so that it goes near this narrow end of the towel holder. And then I've got my zipper tape over here, and I've just got it positioned upside down, and I'm just going to slide this on here. Actually, I think it was last week someone was asking, how do you get the zipper tape to go on so that it's even, so that the teeth are not crooked? So if you find that once you've added the tape on there and it doesn't look straight across, just go ahead and pull it off and try it a couple more times until it's attached to your liking. So that was the number 3 pull that I attached, and I pulled 2 different designs of number 5 pulls just so we could see that they'll work with different shapes of the number 3 and the number 5 pulls. All right, so as you can see, super easy to attach that, and then the pull just comes off, and then this is probably one of the biggest pulls that I use. And I'm glad I attached this to the coaster because it's really staying put. And this particular coaster, by the way, has little rubber feet on the bottom, and I think I got some sticky stuff on one, so yeah, it's ensuring that it's not moving around. So thank you so much to Rolanda for emailing me about this. The link to these towel holders is in the description in case you're interested in checking them out. I think at the time that I purchased them, they were about $11 for the pack of 4, so I thought it was a great deal. I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments. What is a non-sewing item that you use for either sewing or quilting purposes? Perhaps you maybe use a chopstick to hold your fabric as you're sewing through a curve. Let me know in the comments a non-sewing related item that you're using for your sewing. I wanted to also thank all of you for your lovely comments on our 20 questions show last week. one of my 20 questions that you all were answering in the comments was, what do you like about So Sweetness? And I really enjoyed it. It made me feel really great inside to read all of your comments after the show last week of all of the things that you like about So Sweetness. And thanks, guys, so much for being part of our sewing and bag making community. I really appreciate it. New fabrics that I've added to my stash. I have a little stack going, and I pulled a few of the newest fabrics so that I could share with you for today's show. So Danny's going to switch back over to the overhead camera. So these fabrics with the animals are from a fabric line called Our Planet, and I really like the background fabric is kind of a really dark charcoal, almost black, and I really like the designs in the print, especially the tiger. I didn't purchase all of the fabrics from the line, but I did get a few of my favorites. I picked this cream background with the tigers and the birds. And then I'll leave this on the screen so you can see that this darker background has a larger scale of a similar design. Not exactly the same, but similar. And let me open this up. It's upside down. So really, really nice. And then one more that I picked up from this line has sort of like a minty green background. And then this one was sort of a one-off that I picked up, but I really liked the geometric style of the print. This is from Cotton and Steel. Link to this one's also in the description. And then someone posted this fabric in our So Sweetness Facebook group recently. I neglected to write down their name, but I loved their fabric choice, so I picked it up. This is a panel print, so on either side of the selvage is this floral design, and then sort of in the middle of the fabric is more negative space, I suppose. So I thought this would be really great for, as you can see, the flowers are quite large, so I really like this. It would be really great for an airplane bag or another large bag because the flowers are so big. All right, Dan, you can stay in the overhead camera. One thing that I wanted to share that was not sewing related is I've been making, I participate in a CSA, which is community supported agriculture, I think is the proper name. So I get weekly deliveries from a local farm in Illinois, and one of my favorite things to make with the vegetables from the farm is soup. And at the beginning of the year, when I was watching Shark Tank, they had this product on called Super Cubes, and it's silicone trays. And the nice thing about the trays is the top, this top lip over here is encased in metal. I don't know if you've used silicone items before, but they tend to be a little bit floppy. But this one, because it has the metal in there, it holds up when you grab the sides. So I just wanted to share this because it's one of my favorite things. And I have various soups that I have going in the freezer. And this carrot soup over here is one of my newer favorites that I've made. And all you have to do to release the soup is push up the bottom. As you can see, it's super easy and it just comes out, and then you can put it in your bowl or pan. Usually I'm using a pot to heat the frozen soup up on the stove. And this way I get fresh soup with the fresh farm vegetables, and I can have the soup for lunch, something really quick and easy to heat up. And what else was I going to say about these? Oh, they come in different sizes. So I got the 1 cup size because this is a good portion for a single bowl of soup. But there's other sizes. There's, I think, a 2 cup size, and there's smaller sizes too if you need, for example, to store baby food, or if you're making frozen, say, dog treats, something like that. So again, non-sewing related, but I wanted to share this with you because, again, one of my favorites. And Violet is going to help me by, thank you, Violet. Violet is assisting me for the show today. All right. Thank you so much. I have another question for you. Let me know in the comments, what is your favorite soup? Yesterday I made black bean tortilla soup, which turned out really great. I made a double batch just because as I said, I like to freeze soup, and it's really handy. For lunch these days, I don't have much time to cook a full-on meal, but having those frozen soups, just pop one of those out, get it on the stove, and then my lunch is ready in about 5 minutes or so. The book review for today is rather a hefty volume. It's called 100 Paper Piece Quilt Blocks, and these are all foundation paper piecing, which means you sew through paper The templates are included in the book, and according to the book, you can also go on the publisher's website if you purchase the book to download the templates as well to print them out. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera. I'm not going to show you all 100 of the blocks just because we'd be here for quite a while, but I bookmarked some of my favorites, and as you can see, some of the examples are on the cover, and then there's also some cute little projects included for incorporating the blocks into another sewn item. So as with most sewing and quilting books, instructions for basic foundation paper piecing are at the front of the book. And then there's all the blocks. Let me show you this page also so you can see some more of the blocks. So like I said, I just bookmarked a few of my favorites. This leaf design over here. And as you can see, I put some Post-its over the templates just to protect the author's work. But as you can see, the templates are all included on the page, and you can just print those on your scanner copier, like I said, visit the publisher's website to get those templates according to the book. This feather, and there's a bunch of animals. There's a bunch of home type items like teacups and things like that in the book. So it looks like I bookmarked quite a few of the animals. I thought they were really cute. This owl, I like the detail of the owl as well and the fabrics that they chose for their sample. This donut, I love the sprinkles on the fabric, perfect for a donut. And there's some sewing themed items as well. I chose the scissors, but there was a sewing machine. There were other cute quilty sewing items. And then here's some of the projects. I just bookmarked a few of them, but there's probably, oh, I didn't mean to rip that page there. This cushion over here, a little zipper pouch, and then the sunglasses tote. And like I said, there's a bunch more projects in the back of the book. Everything is printable, like I said, and again, the book is 100 paper piece quilt blocks. It's edited by Sarah Collard, and I just thought it was a really good reference if you need a quick, unique sewn project. You can just pull from one of the quilt blocks. Some of the projects are easier than others, like this little popsicle over here and the lightning bolt. Those appeared to be some of the easier ones, and of course some of the animals like the owl looked a little bit more intricate, but a really nicely done book, and I liked all of the variety of the blocks included. Danny's favorite part of the Social Sunday show, when he's not on the show, we'd like to invite all of the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know in the comments that you're part of the Sew Sweetness squad. Danny and I are so happy that you joined us for this show, and we really appreciate your likes, comments, and participation on the show, as well as in our Sew Sweetness Facebook group. What's coming up next? My demo for tonight is actually something that Cindy Elliott posted in our Facebook group recently. It actually wasn't her original post. She was replying in the comments to someone's question, and I thought it was just brilliant. So Danny's going to post Cindy Elliott's photo on the screen from our Facebook group. This was Cindy's example of how she used some fabric to cover the end of cotton strapping. So there's two different kinds of strapping options available out there: nylon strapping and cotton strapping. So cotton strapping is not one that can be heat sealed, but you might have some in your stash that you'd like to use, perhaps in a nice color. And so having the little fabric on the end will help you finish the end without having to kind of sew over a double or triple layer of fabric. So Danny's going to switch back over to the overhead camera, and I'm going to pull my ironing mat out here. Okay, so generally, if you're not finishing the ends of your strapping, you'll need to kind of fold it over twice in order to stitch that raw edge down, but that can make things sometimes a little bit thick. And so having this fabric on the end will help with that. And so I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do that on my unfinished end of the strapping. Okay, so I cut a piece of quilting cotton fabric. The piece measures 3 inches long by 1 5/8 inches wide, and so I wanted it to finish a hair wider than the finished width of the strapping, just so that, by the way, this is 1 inch strapping, just so that all of the edges would be enclosed. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to measure in from each of the long edges by 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to draw that line with my friction pen, and then I'm going to use my iron to iron that fabric toward the wrong side at that line. And that will help start getting the raw edges enclosed. And you can also use your hot ruler if you have one at home for this pressing. Okay, so after I press at those 2 lines, I'm going to press wrong sides together in half. Okay, then I'm going to bring the bottom edge up toward the center crease, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the top edge. Okay, and if you press like this and you ever have a little bit of the fabric overhanging and you don't mean to, I usually just kind of roll it with my fingers and give it another press, just so that you want all of those edges to be sort of enclosed without any extra overhang. Okay, so then I'm going to open this out so that I can slide this piece toward the center crease, and then I'm going to flip that fabric down, and this way all the raw edges will be enclosed. I'm going to place a wonder clip over here. So before the show, I took this over to my sewing machine and I sewed these 2 short ends 1/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric. And then what you can do, especially if you're attaching hardware to this piece, I'm going to go ahead and slide on the hardware, and then you want to fold this piece back so that you have at least a little bit of clearance to sew the 2 long edges. So this will attach the fabric strip to the strapping. And then last thing is to sew 1/8 inch away from the edge of the 2 long edges, and then your piece will be finished. And this is a great idea Cindy posted about in our Facebook group for not only finishing the edges of cotton strapping, but you can also use this if you have a quilting cotton strap as a decorative element. I think it looks really cute and gives you a chance to place a little bit of coordinating fabric in with your main strap fabric. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that quick demonstration. Now we're going to get over to some questions. So if you have a question for me that I can answer live, type your question in the comments right now, either on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you watch our show. And if you think of it, if you could type either a question mark before your question or type it in capital letters, it helps Danny quickly pick out the questions from among all of the comments. Before we get over to that though, I wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway, and that winner is Amanda Pronko. So congratulations to you, Amanda. Please email me after the show and I can get you set up with your prize. And again, the winner is Amanda Pronko. Congratulations to you. We do have another giveaway for the end of this show, so stay tuned. All right, Danny, take it away with the questions. Soaping Girl says, I noticed that you looked at both sides when adding the zipper pull, so is there a front and a back side? So the zipper, where did I throw my zipper pulls? So the side, maybe Danny can switch to the overhead really quick so I can show this one. This is the paw print zipper pull. So the part with the piece that attaches to the actual pull, that's the top side. So when I put it on that dish towel holder, I put it on face down, I suppose. Yeah, I think face down is the easiest way, because if you place it face down, then you can have that pull out of your way. As you can see, the pull is not in my way whatsoever. And then because the zipper pull is face down, you also want to make sure you grab your tape and place the tape face down as well. There you go. Yeah, that's a great question. Creative Mama of 3 says, will you do the ugly sweater contest again this year? You know what? I guess I hadn't thought of it. For the holidays last year, we did an ugly sweater contest where we posted pictures of Soul Sweetness members wearing an ugly sweater. So I guess I'll have to think about that. Maybe we can come up with, if we don't do the sweater contest, maybe we can come up with something else fun. All right. You can use that same technique to cover the ends of zippers. Yes, exactly. For making zipper pouches or when you need to finish the ends of your zippers, similar manner to pressing with these little tabs, that'll work for a zipper as well. Mary Jo says, what is a hot ruler? I actually don't you know what? Let me jump off set really quick, and I see mine on my desk. Ta-da! All right, Danny, if you wouldn't mind switching to the overhead one more time. We sell these in our shop at sewsweetness.com. This is the hot ruler. It's made of a material that reminds me of something similar to Pella and Peltex interfacing, and now that I just threw my ironing pad down on the ground, let me grab this instead. So if you're pressing your fabric, say if you want to press to the wrong side by 1/4 of an inch, you would just find, let me hold it so it's right side up. There's markings on this, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and so on. And so if you wanted to press to the wrong side by 1/4 of an inch, all you would do was just fold that fabric over.
I'm gonna zoom in, sir.
Okay, Danny's gonna zoom in. Thank you, Danny. Wow, that's a tight zoom. Okay, and because this is not a flammable ruler, you can actually iron on it, and the heat from the iron, like I said, because this is a similar material to, it reminds me a lot of Pella and Peltex, then you can get a nice press without having to, in that video, like I marked with my friction pen and then I turned it to the wrong side. This is a bit more precise because you're just ironing till the fabric hits the markings. So we have this in the Notion section over at sewsweetness.com, and again, it's called the hot ruler. Maribel says, how long does it take you to sew a tote bag average? So I guess it depends on how detailed the particular pattern is. I will say I generally try to cut out my fabric and interfacing and attach the interfacing at least the day before I plan on sewing the project, because it helps me start sewing with sort of like fresh eyes rather than I'm already tired from fusing all of that interfacing. I guess on average for a bag, maybe seven or so hours sewing time. Again, if it's a more simpler project, that would be less time, but I am definitely not the fastest sewer. I have a friend that sews like lightning, and you know, it kind of makes me jealous to see how fast that she can sew. I'm just not that way. I generally double check my instructions before I get to the next step, things like that. So I'm not a speedy sewer. Cindy says, are the seam guides on sewing machine plates accurate? I see you often refer to your foot rather than the plate. So that's a really great question. Especially when I often use the side edge of my sewing machine foot, or for example, for top stitching, I have a spot on my foot that I've eyeballed for 1/8 of an inch. It might not be precisely 1/8 of an inch, but if I use that particular spot every time, at least my stitching is consistent. And so I do have things marked on the bed of my sewing machine. I have, if you've seen any of my videos, you've probably seen the little bit of pink washi tape that I have on there for the 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I use a combination of markings on the plate, self markings, or my actual presser foot for sewing different seam allowances. Pat says, can you substitute iron-on foam batting for the sew-in? That's a great question. So for foam interfacings, I like to use by Annie Soft and Stable, which is a sew-in foam. I kind of tend to, this is completely personal preference. Everyone has their own favorite when it comes to foam interfacings, but I prefer the sew-in foam rather than the fusible foam. Sometimes, depending on the project or what you're doing, sometimes the fusible foam can leave little wrinkles, especially if you're turning the bag right side out at the end of construction. And so that's why I like using the sew-in foam, me personally. Tracy says, what thread do you use on sewing the waxed canvas? I've only made a couple of waxed canvas projects, and I use the same thread that I used when sewing other bags that I've made, which is generally Aurifil 40 weight thread. However, if you sew with a ton of waxed canvas, let us know in the comments if you're sewing with a different weight of thread. Usually I like using a lighter weight wax canvas. I think they've discontinued it now, but I like the Robert Kaufman Waxer canvas, which I think is 8.2 ounces. So it's probably one of the thinnest wax canvases that I've ever seen. But if using a thicker one, maybe a different thread choice would be better. Tina says, what is the name of that product you use to freeze your soup? And how do you order it? I'm also vegetarian like yourself. I actually have a link in the comments in case I forgot to say it while I was talking about it. It's called Super Cubes, but the link to their website is in the comments, and you can see also all of the different sized trays that they make and sell. Wendy says, why was there 4 pieces in the zipper thing, or did I hear wrong? Yes, so this, it was actually sold on Amazon as either a towel or a dish towel holder, so I think that's why they had 4 in the pack, because you might be having maybe 4 of them in your bathroom to hold several different towels or what have you. But anyway, this is not marketed for sewing where I bought it from, but nonetheless, it is a great sewing supply. And like I said, the extras you can just give as gifts to other sewing friends. Laura says, question, any tips for ironing small pieces without burning your fingers? That's a really great question. And
stiletto.
Thank you, Danny. Danny's suggesting the stiletto. Good job, Danny. Rather than the stiletto, if you have another suggestion for Laura, let us know in the comments, and Danny will look out for that to pass it on by posting it on the screen.
Silicone oven mitts.
Another suggestion was silicone oven mitts. Any other good suggestions, Danny? Jane says, what was the size and type of coaster you used for the zipper pull placement? This little coaster, I have a whole bunch of coasters, so I felt okay sacrificing this one for my sewing tool, but this one is 4 inches square, if that helps. And I'm sure if you go to the home improvement store, you can probably pick up just a single tile, relatively inexpensive, and then if you get these little maybe rubber pads for the bottom, those probably will be inexpensive as well. Or you can just, if you can find like a single one-off coaster, yeah, this is, I really like this on the coaster. Jackie says, where did you get the t-shirt? Love it. So this t-shirt is from a website called, Danny's going to take down the comment really quick so we could see the t-shirt again. This shirt is from the website Daddy Dressed Me, and they have lots of fun sewing merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, buttons. I'm sure there's other things that I'm forgetting, so check on that website. Again, it's called daddydressedme.com. Linda says, what type of glue do you use to stick fabric together? Great question, and because I was using it a couple days ago, I have it right here. We sell these on the website also. It's made by Fons and Porter, and it's a fabric glue stick, and we also sell the refills. So I like that it's a blue, so when I'm applying it to my fabric, I can see where I've applied it, and then obviously it dries clear. And what I do when applying this to my fabric is, especially if it's a larger portion that I need to apply to, I'll apply it in sections so that the glue doesn't have time to dry before I'm able to either finger press it or iron it. And what I like to do is I like to use my iron. Actually, Danny, go ahead and switch to the overhead camera. Since I have this little scrap of fabric here, we'll go ahead and show this on camera. So say if you need to, you know, because I have a few patterns that call for applying glue. So say you need to apply the glue, so I'm going to apply that glue right there. And then I'm going to take my iron, hot dry iron will set that glue. And then it's properly adhered. And this is also a washable glue stick, so if you happen to wash the item or the bag when you're done, then obviously this glue will wash out. It won't be hard, tough glue stuck in your project. As you can see, it's pretty flexible even with that glue applied in there. So great question about the fabric glue. Barb says there are finger cots that are silicone. Let me write that down on my piece of paper so I can look that up. Thank you very much, Barb. Karen says, is linen blend fabric good for making bags? I have used some in the past. I have a few fabrics. Sometimes Coca, the manufacturer Coca with a K, makes linen blend fabric. So I have used them for bags in the past. Depending on the drape or how thin the fabric feels, you might want to attach Pellon Shape Flex to the wrong side before attaching it to whatever interfacing you need for is called for in the pattern, just because that will help kind of smooth things out, take out some of the drape, and at times, especially with the linen blends, sometimes it makes it easier to work with if it's not so drapey. That Pellon Shape Flex kind of smooths it out, and if there's any stretch in a certain direction, perhaps on the grain, it'll help take care of that as well. Mary Grace says, just purchased wax canvas today. Do I need a special needle and a Teflon foot? I do use my Teflon foot for the wax canvas, and like I mentioned previously, depending on the thickness of your wax canvas, you might need to use a different needle. I do have a video on my YouTube channel talking about different needle sizes for bag making, and if you haven't seen that video yet, you can find that on the Sew Sweetness channel by just typing in the Sew Sweetness search on YouTube needle, and that video should come up. How do you stay motivated to finish large projects? I always run out of steam part way. That's a really great question, and maybe this is personal depending on your sewing style, but for me, I find that I do better working on that project till I complete it. Like, I'm looking to my desk chair and there's a partially finished quilt. All I need to do is sew on the borders. Everything else is finished. And because I got distracted by working on some other sewing related thing, it's been sitting there for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. So I find that I do better if I can just, even if I need to work on it over a few days, just stick with that project until I finish it. Because once I start something else, then it slowly turns into being a UFO. Hopefully I can finish it this week, but we'll see. Brenda says, what was the name of that glue stick? It was the Fons and Porter, I think the appropriate title for it is Fons and Porter Fabric Glue Marker. It's not really a marker, it's really just a glue stick. But Charlotte says, is it possible to piece faux leather to get the length needed to make a crossbody strap? Is it too thick? Great question, Charlotte. I do have a video on my YouTube channel. I'm blanking on the title, but basically how to make a cork strap, how to make a long cork strap. Perhaps if you type in the Sew Sweetness search box on YouTube, cork strap, I think that might come up. And even though I demonstrate with cork fabric in that video, it will apply to other substrates like wax canvas, vinyl, just regular canvas, and so on. Retha says, do you wash your Shape Flex before using? Another website I visited said to. I never have. Honestly, I never have either. I do occasionally wash a bag, a handmade bag, and I haven't had an issue, but I have noticed over the years that they do have that in their instructions. Jane says, have you tried Nancy of Nancy's Notions hemmed rulers? They are great, so many sizes. I actually haven't, but let me write that down so I can check that out as well. Can wax canvas bleed through to the other fabric attached to the lining of the bag? That's a good question. I'm not sure if because I've only made a couple projects with wax canvas. Obviously, I'm finger pressing it rather than using my iron. But I haven't gotten the bag, say, completely wet, so I'm not sure. I guess I wouldn't expect it to bleed through, but let me know in the comments if you've made a lot more wax canvas projects than I have, if you have a better answer for Michelle Grace's question there. Teresa says, any tips for making bags out of denim? Do you still need interfacing? So that's a great question. I guess it depends on the thickness of the denim. Latoya over in the Soul Sweetness Facebook groups makes a ton of upcycled Soul Sweetness bags with denim, and they look amazing. So if you're part of the Soul Sweetness group, check her projects out. Um, I guess it also depends on the particular bag you're making, how much structure the bag has, and how much structure you would like the finished project to have. For example, like a hobo bag is one of the types of bags with less structure. It's supposed to be sort of slouchier. So in that case, especially if the denim is thicker, interfacing might be something you can either omit for the exterior fabric or reduce. For example, perhaps instead of foam interfacing, using a lighter interfacing like fleece or batting. Yeah, so I suppose it depends, but if you ever need a little help brainstorming interfacing choices for your project, you can email me anytime. My email is sarah@soulsweetness.com, and that's Sarah with no H. Jackie says, is wax canvas the same as cotton canvas? Which one do you use for bag making? So the main difference between regular cotton canvas is wax canvas is the wax canvas has either a beeswax or a waxy finish to it, so it's kind of coated both sides with that wax. The wax canvas you definitely don't want to iron. If you do happen to iron it by mistake, the heat from the iron will sort of sap some of that wax out of your fabric and transfer it to, say, your ironing board. Ask me how I know. Obviously, the cotton canvas, that would never be an issue. There are products out there, I'm blanking on the name, but products for reapplying or waxing your own fabric. Carolyn says, what is washi tape? So washi tape it kind of works in my mind similar to painter's tape. So it's can be applied to surfaces and in general removed, which is why I use it on the bed of my sewing machine. And it often comes in, say, perhaps different widths. The one I have on my sewing machine I think is a 1/2 inch wide, and often it comes in fun prints and colors. So people use it to decorate things like notebooks, perhaps in scrapbooking. Local craft stores generally have washi tape in lots of different designs. Are you calling it on the question,
No.
Danny? No? Okay. Excellent. Rosanna says, how can I keep wrinkles out of my finished wallet after adding Peltex stabilizer? So I guess my question is which one of the Peltex you're using, if you're using sew-in or fusible. I'm guessing by your question, perhaps you're using fusible. One idea would be to, I guess it depends on if you're adding the Peltex when, say, your flap is finished, if you're sewing a flap together, if you're just sliding that in to keep it out of the seam allowance, or if you're attaching it and then assembling your bag. So I guess those two things I have questions about. Perhaps you can always add a layer of Pellon Shape Flex between the fabric and the Peltex. That will help with the wrinkles. But feel free to email me if it's a particular pattern or project that you're working on, and maybe we can go through some of the details to get some better answers. Debbie says, does the glue affect the needle? So this particular glue stick was made for sewing and quilting, so me personally, I have not had a problem with it gumming up my needle, probably because it was made specifically for sewing. Joyce says, have you ever used hemp canvas in your fabric projects, Sarah? I have not. I have actually never heard of that, so let me write that down and I'll check that out after the show. Thank you. Paula says, can you use fusible Trico instead of SF101? It's been a while since I've used that particular interfacing. If I recall correctly, I think it is lighter weight and has a bit more drape. I think it would not give as much crispness, say for example, if you're using quilting cotton, as the Pellon Shape Flex would. So I think, I guess it depends on what your preference is. For me, I like the crispness that the Shape Flex gives to my lining fabrics. But if you're making a smaller project like a clutch, and perhaps I see a lot in store-bought bags, the lining fabric seems to have a bit of drape and it's kind of more flowy. So if that's the look that you're going for, perhaps the other interfacing would work for that project as well. Quilting in Romania says, when you quilt, what speed do you sew with? That's a really great question. So on my Juki, I have a speed control, And there's a little dial on the side of my machine. The rabbit icon is the fastest speed and the turtle is the slowest, and I always have mine set to halfway in between. Jan says, have you ever used a nonstick needle? I just bought some and I haven't tried them yet. I actually have not ever sewn with a nonstick needle. But if you have, let us know in the comments, so hopefully Jan can see your comments, because I think you're calling it. Not yet? Okay. Just going through so many.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You just look so quiet over there. Hey all, what's the name of that towel holder? Is listed on Amazon. There's a link in the description to it. I think it was part of the description was, I wrote it on my notebook, dish towel holder. Barb says, suggestion, if you do hand sewing and your needle gets stuck, I always ask for the tourniquet when they draw blood. I cut it in about 4 pieces and use it in the to grab the needle. That's a really great idea. I never would have thought of that. Marie says, what are some good projects for using wax canvas? I have a lot of it. So I'm trying to think which of my favorite projects that I've seen people make in the Facebook group with wax canvas. I saw some day trip cell phone wallets made with wax canvas that I thought came out awesome. I also saw at least a few widget messenger bags with wax canvas. Those looked great as well. I'm sure there's some I'm missing. Those are just the first 2 that are popping into my head. Lori says, do any of your bags have an interior pocket with elastic along the top? My mom wants an elastic pocket in her Clyde bank. So I'm not sure if you're looking for like an elastic side pocket, but if you are, I have 2 different videos on my YouTube channel for, one is adding a side pocket to any bag, and the other is, I think, adding a mesh elastic pocket to a bag. That is if you're looking for side pockets. Hopefully that's what you were looking for. Michelle says, do you have a video of sewing tricks and hacks? If you go to my website, sewsweetness.com, along the top there's a few different tabs. One is tutorials, and there's a sub-tab, bag making techniques. I have almost, I think almost now 100 videos showing, about 10 minutes or less videos showing different techniques for things like how to install a twist lock, how to add a zipper pocket to any bag. So you can find those again on my website under the tutorials tab, and then under the bag making techniques sub tab. All right, Danny, you calling it?
I don't see any questions.
All right, I apologize if I did not get to your question live, but I'll be back again next Sunday, and Danny will be joining me on next Sunday's show. So I have one more question for you. By the way, the giveaway prize for today is the prize I thought of when I was reading all those lovely comments on what you liked about Sew Sweetness. And so I wanted to give sort of 2 prizes today for next, I'll announce the winner on next Sunday's show. A $40 gift certificate for you and a $40 gift certificate for the friend of your choice. It can be either a friend in real life, or perhaps you have a friend online or in the Sew Sweetness Facebook group. So you and a friend will win each $40 gift certificates to sewsweetness.com. One more question for you to add to your entries. Let me know in the comments your favorite local quilt or fabric shop. And if you could also let me know where it's located, so others that are watching the show can see where different fabric shops are located. So you can let us know either city or state, country, wherever the local fabric shop is. I will draw one randomly drawn winner at the end of the day this Saturday and announce the winner on next Sunday's show. And like I mentioned, the winner will get to choose a friend for that extra prize. So thank you so much for watching Sewcial Sunday. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.